Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zellin. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Better Business with Austin Zellin. Today we have special guest, Mr. Ryan Sandstrom with us. He's going to share how he was able to scale his law firm to $10 million in revenue within 2 years and zero ad spend. I think that's pretty insane. I've scaled some companies before, but definitely not those figures yet. One day, maybe when I grow up, I'll be like Ryan too. So very excited to have him on here today. And we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, systems, automation, and all those different things, including AI. I think AI has been a very integral part to many companies being able to grow as fast as they've been able to grow. And of course, he also uses AI in his company as well to scale and grow at that pace. So Ryan, could you just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your business, and what inspired you to get into that field specifically?
Sure. Yeah, great question. First off, thanks for having me. This is great. Glad to be here. We connected only a few months ago, right? And we've become good buddies since then, like-minded people, right?
Yep.
That's great. So my background, so I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for 12 years. I always knew that I wanted to do something that was, graduate school, MBA, law, something along those lines. And I had an uncle that clerked on the Supreme Court and had some pretty cool experiences. And I shadowed him for a bit. I thought, hey, I could try my hand at that. I think I like that idea. So I went to law school, graduated high in my class and came out of school and did the straight corporate thing. Like I literally went from the small firm to the big firm, rose the corporate ladder, made partner in a few years, was the director of the commercial practice group at a big firm in Phoenix. And then I was making really good money and I was kind of miserable. So I was, kind of grinding away to nothingness, right? I was working for everybody else and didn't feel like it was very fulfilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2020 happened, COVID happened, and I had a little wake up moment. I almost passed away from COVID. So I was, 17 of the worst days of my life where I didn't know if I was going to wake up in the morning.
Wow.
So it was a really rough go. And I have a wife and 4 kids, so it was a rough go. But obviously, grace of God, I woke up and I've changed a lot of things about my life since then. I decided to start my own practice, lean into some risk, lean into some hard decisions. And so started my practice. It's been just over 2 years now. And we've scaled it now. We're in Arizona. But we practice all over the Southwest. We have lawyers licensed all over. And,
awesome.
We're at 20 people now on my team. And then we're now growing nationally. So we have of counsel lawyers in literally every state in the country. So we have 265 lawyers that do fulfillment work around the country. So It's awesome. So it's nice to be in a position now to be the entrepreneurial lawyer, right? It's not just practicing law. It's building a business and scaling and automating that. We're trying to get to 25 million this year and 50 million next year.
Wow. Those are some pretty big goals.
And we'll get there.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's awesome. And, a lot of the people watching this are probably kind of in that same transition period where maybe they have a good job, they like what they do, but they feel a little bit trapped. And so they're trying to make that move into the more entrepreneurial lifestyle, or they've already made it and now they're wanting to scale. They want to run a better business. So what would you say is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur? Is there anything you like particularly, like maybe the time freedom or that you're more in control of your income or any of those aspects of it?
There are no limits to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Like you can, as big as you can dream, that's as big as you can succeed. You're constrained in a 9-to-5 job. You're constrained when you're working for somebody else. You have to receive approval from somebody else all the time. But when you say, I want to grow a business and this is how I think I'm going to do it, go do it.
Yeah.
And so the best part for me is I'm a dreamer, right? I have these really big goals, really big ideas. I probably talk my wife's ear off all the time about these crazy plans, but now I'm in a position to go do them. And I have 4 companies now. I don't just have the law firm.
Okay.
And
what are the other ones?
Yeah. So I have the law firm. I have a lawyer education company, right?
Okay.
So we teach lawyers how to build, scale, and automate their firms. We have a rental fleet, right? So again,
Of what?
Of vehicles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and we again, part of our practice is personal injury.
Yeah.
And we were recognizing that people were having a hard time finding particularly 7-seater cars, trucks, and anything over 100,000. So we thought to ourselves, we have captive audience. We can't rent to our own clients because that's a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought there's a necessity for vehicles in this circumstance and other people are in there. So Last year we bought 30 cars and, started to scale that, and we cash flow each car about $1,000 a month.
Wow.
So, that, again, just an idea that I had in the back of my mind, saw the need, and I turned that into a business. And then the last one is an app that we're currently developing. It's a self-development app.
Okay.
Similar to 75 hard, but more customizable. So It's called Ideal Day.
Ideal Day. I love it. So with on that topic of self-development, I know that's been a very, very critical aspect of my own personal journey. And it's something that I would say has had the biggest return out of all the investments that I made. All the investments that I made in myself have always produced a return that gives over and over and over again. It's not like a one-time thing. The thing about investing is that sometimes you invest into something and you get paid out once. When you invest in your own mindset, you get paid out time and time again. And so I think that app is especially important for situations like this. And besides the app, what sources do you look at to get that personal development from? Are there like favorite authors or books or speakers?
Such a great question. After the whole COVID thing, I really, really started to explore the mindset side of things, self-development. To be candid, I hadn't really done that before.
Yeah.
That was new to me. I hired my first coach by accident. I went to a conference thinking it was a marketing thing. And he started talking about mindset. And I was like, I don't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So I hired him. It was 10 grand before I had 10 grand to spend.
Okay.
That was a really scary investment for me. And to your point, it's paid off in spades.
Yeah.
Last year, I spent a lot of money to be in the right rooms. We're talking backstage access to some of the most influential entrepreneurs that you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And the guys like Brad Lee, Gary Vee, Jesse Itzler, Eric Spofford, Nick Santonastaso, Keaton Hoskins. These guys are now personal friends of mine, right?
Yeah.
We text on a daily. Sean Kelly, Dave Meltzer, like really, really influential, wonderful people. And I've learned two really valuable things about rubbing shoulders with these amazing people. Is the two simple realities are, number one, they're just average people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're making killer amounts of money, but they're just regular people, right? And so then it begs the question, well, what's different about them compared to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they where they are and I'm where I am? And the answer is when I chose comfort, they chose hard.
Mm-hmm.
So when they chose, or when I chose the comfort of a 9-to-5 and a salaried position with benefits, they were flipping homes on credit cards.
Yeah.
And they were building businesses out of garages.
Yeah.
So to the mindset perspective, and I talk about this a lot, is I have a pendulum that sits on my desk, Newton's cradle.
Mm-hmm.
So like you lift one side of the pendulum and that's how far it goes on the other side.
Yep.
If you feel stuck and you're trying to push higher on the success side of the pendulum,
Yeah.
it's nearly impossible to push that just by itself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the potential kinetic energy for it to allow it to go the other way.
Yeah.
The only way that you can have the potential kinetic energy for something to grow is more risk. So the higher the risk, the higher the reward. We know that idea.
Yep.
So if people feel stuck right now and they're like, oh, I make decent money and all that, well, you're choosing comfort over hard. So if you want more in your life, don't focus on more, focus on how you can take more risks that will allow you to create more. So
Yeah.
I left a $300,000 a year job with a mortgage and 4 kids and benefits and all the comfort that I would ever ask for, with 0 clients, 0 guarantees, and 0 prospects or promises.
Yeah.
Talk about a risk.
Yeah. It's a big risk.
I made $1 million in my first 8 months.
Wow.
Okay. So that risk, my back was against the wall and I went as hard as I possibly can, turn that then into 10 million in 2 years. So
Wow.
the point is if you're feeling stuck, stop telling yourself that you're stuck and start asking yourself, where can I take more risks that will allow me to have more success?
I love that visual that you talked about with the Newton's cradle, because it's really true. Like, you have to have that element of risk present in order to have the risk of success. And one of my favorite topics to talk about is actually risk, because I think some people think of risk as bad, but it's actually not bad. You define what risk is.
Right.
Risk can be good or bad. Like, if I put myself in the right investments, in the right position, in the right rooms, I'm at risk, but I'm probably at a higher risk of success than I am at a risk of failure.
I love that.
And so if you just put yourself where there is risk, but the risk of being successful is so high, it's very, very likely that you're going to succeed.
Right.
And, if you make it inevitable for success to happen in your life, over time, it might not happen overnight, but over time it is going to happen. And so maintaining consistency at that point is key. So another big thing that I think affects our mindset around all this is the environments that we put ourselves in.
Agreed.
Would you say that you've cultivated an environment around yourself, or maybe you had to change your environment at a certain point in your life that allowed you to do the things that you're doing today?
100%. So I talk about the 4 main aspects of life to really be hitting on are faith, family, finance, and fitness, right? We moved. I mean, after this whole COVID thing, I was like, I need to put myself in a different environment. I bought an expensive home that I was kind of scared about, right? I changed jobs, right? And
it's like physically relocated.
Yeah. And then I've started traveling to conferences to physically put myself around people that have done it before.
Yeah.
So I started surrounding myself with people that already knew the answers. I just had to pull that from them. So yeah, I absolutely had to change pretty much not only my external environment, but my internal environment.
Yeah.
I also had to stop being super critical of myself. I had to say, look, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. I had this perfectionism idea.
Yeah.
And perfectionism is an absolute killer of drive. Like if you think that you have to be perfect, you will never start. You could think in your mind, well, this business, I have to write it this way. I have to create it this way. Well, then you're never gonna begin.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with the idea that it's going to hurt and it's going to be a struggle. And as soon as you realize that the failure is actually the learning experience.
Yep.
And there's a really, really great analogy. Hormozy talks a lot about this. It's the analogy of the clay pots, right? So the teacher comes in and says, all right, half the class, you have a full semester to create one amazing clay pot. And then he goes to the other side and he says, your job is to create the most amount of clay pots that you can in that semester. So the one class is focusing so much on one individual perfection thing, and the other one is cranking out work over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So by the end of the semester, the people who made a significant amount of pots, their quality was far better than the one that spent the entire 4 months working on one pot.
Wow.
It's because it literally, you get in there and you learn and you develop from the failures. So the 9,000 pots that weren't right turned into the 9,001 that was better than anything that somebody could have done in a long time.
Yeah.
So the point is, go do it. Learn to fail. Learn to understand the hardship in business. And then, I've had to make a lot of pivots just in 2 years. And if I had thought about all those things, I would never have even been where I am now if I didn't start. There's no way.
Yeah. I love that analogy. I think that's so cool. And it's very interesting, and it's, I think, reflective of real life. You know, when you put the reps in, when you just try and you do it over and over and over again, you just naturally get good. You have that progression. But if you're so worried about being perfect the first time, you never actually start and you never reach that level of perfection. So
100%.
It's kind of like a catch-22 there. So yeah, that's really interesting. So I know a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, they seek outside help, like a consultant or something, to help them grow their company. Have you ever hired consultants in your business? And do you think that they're helpful in growing a business?
Absolutely. I mean, like, to be able to accelerate my timeline, and I mean, I could spend the time and learn it on my own, but it's going to take me years.
Yeah.
I have to learn from my own mistakes along the way, or I can have an expert come in and say, here's the 20 mistakes that you're going to make. I'll give you 3 examples. So Nick Santonastasso is one of the most amazing speakers that I've ever met in my life. If you know Nick, he has no legs and one arm, amazing human being. I hired Nick to be my personal mentor for developing our coaching consulting for lawyers. I spent a lot of money on Nick, and we built a program in literally 2 weekends.
Wow.
I flew out there with him. It was a crazy dedicated, it was a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Yeah.
But his experience of doing that accelerated my timeline. Keaton Hoskins, same thing. And then with selling the coaching and doing all that, Ryan Pineda, one of the best, coaches, consultants out there for real estate. So we're applying that now to law with his expertise. So
awesome.
Rather than waiting around and making mistakes all along the way, I can, what do they say? A true, a really smart person is one who learns from somebody else's mistake.
Yeah.
A smart person learns from your own, but learning from somebody else's mistakes, man, I can get so much further and so much faster by utilizing their expertise.
Yeah. It definitely gives you a lot of leverage. I mean, if you can get yourself to such a state where you just look at other people's mistakes and then you don't fall into those same traps.
Right.
Because even if you just look at it time-wise, how long did it take them to make that mistake? Maybe a couple of years, and then if you're looking at maybe 10 people's mistakes, you just saved yourself 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. So even on the leverage side, it makes total sense to do that, but it is difficult. I've had situations in my life where I see somebody make a mistake and you just don't learn from it. You got to get used to it. It's like it's a habit you have to form. So That's cool. So I know we talked a little bit earlier about leveraging AI in our businesses. So I know in my business, it's made a night and day difference. It's helped me scale a lot of things. It's made me more efficient. It's made me more money. So how have you leveraged AI in your business?
Yeah. So in law, it's a lot of people have a fear in law that AI is going to take over law.
Yeah.
And I don't have that fear. I think it's going to make law extremely more efficient.
Yeah, for sure.
We use a company called FileVine that has an AI integration. So it can review medical records. It can review commercial documentation, tax records. It can review operating agreements, shareholders agreements, non-compete. Like it can review all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I can say draft a demand when I give it the input, and it provides what I kind of like a law clerk draft. It provides you a base foundation to start from. It's not even close to a finished product.
Yeah.
I've actually seen people who've sent me emails where the prompts for AI are still in there.
Oh, really?
And I told you the story about the lawyers who literally wrote something into ChatGPT and drafted a motion on it.
Yeah.
And it ChatGPT spit out case law that was not real case law.
Yeah.
And they filed it. And of course they got in big time trouble with the New York State Bar. So it's basically, it gets you from 0 to 1 a lot faster.
Yeah.
It doesn't create the finalized product. And here's why. Law is so much more than just the what, right? Law is the what if. So what I mean by that is my job as an attorney is to analyze the situation and not just tell you what is going on, but it's to tell you, well, what if these various contingencies happen?
Yeah.
So I always say the what is easy, the what if is hard. So what you're paying, like if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm buying a business for $1 million. I go, and they go, can you write it up? I say, you could write that up. There's no difference between me saying business $1 million transfer here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing. So the what if though, what happens if a shareholder defaults? What happens if there's contingencies you need to raise money? What happens if you want to bring somebody in? What happens if you want to kick somebody out?
Yeah.
What happens if there's dishonesty in the warranties? All the what ifs then go into the hypothetical that I then create the document to solve. So to your point about risk, it's risky, but I'm solving all of those risks through the what if, right? So AI is helpful in getting you to a starting point, but then the lawyer intuition and the training, honestly, what we learn in law school, we don't learn laws.
Yeah.
We learn how to identify the issue. We literally learn a thing in law school called the IRAC model. It's issue, rule, application, conclusion. And most of what we're taught is to identify the issue, was to say, well, what if this? What if that? I mean, the rules, AI can give you the rules. AI can even give you some of the application.
Yeah.
But identifying the issue and then being able to craft that and solve that, I think that's really the value. So AI is a great, great tool. It's made us a lot more efficient, but I don't think it'll ever fully replace us.
Yeah, definitely. I think in many businesses, it's not going to replace workers necessarily. It'll just equip them to be more efficient. And maybe one person could then do the capacity of work of like 10 people or 15 people. So I think that's one of the biggest benefits that we've seen, at least. And I always find that you still need somebody to kind of man the AI,
Sure.
And make sure that it's working properly, but it does save a lot of time and effort on some of that busy work. So have you used it at all in your sales process? Because we've started implementing it into our sales process. It's pretty cool.
I haven't. And that's because we've, like we talked about early, the way we've generated business, I have a very, very specific system for generating work that does not require any ad spend. I don't do marketing. I don't do advertising.
Okay. So how do you get your clients? I think everybody wants to know.
So everybody says, like, what, word of mouth? And I say word of mouth to a very, very carefully scripted and created program. I call it the Amplex system. So, and the way and this is credit to one of my mentors again, Lou Spagnolo, who gave me just such an amazing piece of advice. This is early before I even started. He said, become a trapper, not a hunter. And I said, okay, what does that mean? He said, a trapper is like, if you're a hunter, you have one deer, you chase that one deer. So you're putting up a billboard, you're doing all this stuff. You're trying to find people, right?
Yeah.
It's locating them. But you're going to look for one person over and over and over again until the end of time. He says, but if you're a trapper and you have a trap that has 10 rabbits in it every morning before you even wake up, you wake up and you're good.
Yeah.
So the idea is to, and this is how we built it. The system is called Amplex, which is a Latin term. Lawyers love Latin. And plexus is the word, which means, it means to surround and embrace. So then, and the process is very simple. Identify your ideal client. Say, for example, you're whatever that is. This is not limited to law. Identify your ideal client. Identify where that ideal client would be thinking of you in their moment of need, right? So who are they already talking to?
Okay.
say, for example, you are a business lender, right?
Yeah.
Who are they already talking to? My guess is they're talking to lawyers. My guess is they're talking to CPAs. My guess is they're talking to, but you could identify a lot of those people. I've done that for my practice areas, right? Business, insurance, personal injury. As I say, who are my ideal clients? Who are they already talking to?
Mm-hmm.
And then I figure out who that person is that they're already talking to. And I go create a relationship with them, whether that's promoting, some affiliate relationship or whether that's promoting some type just of a friendly relationship. Like I have a dinner once a month with a close friend of mine that sends me case after case after case because he loves it that he and I go to dinner every month.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have a relationship with the trap.
Yeah.
And so he sends me a case, but the reality is what's going to happen. That guy's going to say, hey, I got a new case. I'm going to send it to my buddy because I want to hook him up. So you give that person my name. What are they going to do? They're going to Google me. And so if I don't have a solid website, if I don't have good content, and if I don't have good reviews, they're not going to sell themselves. So instead, I do not use social media and all those things to find clients. I use it to confirm clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out to the world and I say, hey, here's all my traps. When you drop my name, they go look me up and they go, hey, he recommended me for this particular type of legal service. And as a matter of fact, he has 600 reviews that say that exact same thing. So he's trustworthy. He has a bunch of content on that exact same thing.
Yeah.
Before I even get them on the phone, they've already sold themselves.
Exactly.
And then the last piece of it, but with Amplex, is controlling the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a referral, if I were to give somebody a card, that card ends up in the bottom of your pocket and they forget about it and they never end up reaching out.
Yep.
So there's rules in law about solicitation. So we have to be very careful about it. But if somebody gives you a warm lead, like somebody says, hey, my friend was in an accident. Hey, my friend is in a business divorce. Hey, my friend had his house burned down, needs some help, whatever the circumstance is, it can be applied to anything, right? Yeah. As soon as you understand what that circumstance is, then you can sell them, right?
Yeah.
So again, you have to be able to understand that they're going to give you the warm lead and you control the narrative now. So my friend will say, hey, buddy, here's a text to my friend who has a whatever case. And I'll jump in and I'll say, hey, nice to meet you. Let me see how I can help you. Guess who's controlling the narrative now? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just got a warm lead, somebody who's already confirmed themselves that I have the ability to now talk to them based on a warm lead. Mm-hmm. We literally close 99% of intake.
Wow.
I mean, like we're closing upwards of 15 to 20 cases a day right now. And that's a small team.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this exact same thing with my referral clients around the country.
Okay.
So as we grow nationally, rather than putting marketing out into the world, I go to my influencer clients like yourself, like Eric Spofford, like Keaton Hoskins, Ryan Pineda, Brad Lee. And I say, hey guys, you have people that need legal work. You're already talking to them. Rather than me marketing to the masses and putting a billboard in, they're my traps.
Yeah.
They already have access to the people that I want access to. So I pay the VIP tickets to be in their rooms.
Yeah.
I create a relationship where we get to hang out for a couple of days and have some fun, right? Yeah. And it's a blessing in my life. It's a blessing in their life. And by the way, we can monetize it. Yeah. So now I've set traps without having to spend a dime. So then when they drop my name, drop my business, they're going to go do the same process. They're going to confirm themselves. And we now have a systematized approach to where those clients will get contacted through us after the warm referral. So, and that's literally nationwide.
Yeah.
So the blessing is, again, it's that whole system is identifying your traps and managing those traps in such a simple way, but there's a lot more to it than just word of mouth.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm actually working on a book right now that we're going to put out called the Amplex system. Basically, you could apply that to real estate. You could apply that to anything.
Yeah.
Figure out who your ideal client is, who they're already talking to, create a relationship with that person, and then have a client confirmation process with social media and with reviews, and then control the narrative with an intake. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll kill it with that. I mean, literally kill it. And to say that we've done $10 million in 2 years without a dime in advertising, that's how we did it.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell me more about this like network of traps that you have. How many traps would you say you have?
Probably 40 or 50.
40, okay.
Not very many.
Yeah.
But I've identified, and I'll give you a perfect example. So if you have a business client, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Okay.
So we do a lot of their, basic contracting. We also do their litigation, whatever that happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, all right, if I want a business client that's doing that, has potential, right? Say $500,000 to $1 million a year, maybe more.
Yeah.
Who's that person already talking to? They're probably already talking to an SBA banker. They probably need some money to get going. So guess what we did? We held a conference at my office And we specifically gave value to SBA bankers for their licensure because they have to be licensed in order to do SBA funding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we came in and taught those bankers. So now we become an authority figure and we provided them lunch.
Yeah.
We say, hey guys, it's really nice to meet you. You guys all have thousands of clients, each of you, that I would love you to send to me.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't even sell it. I literally don't even make it a sales process. I tell them, hey guys, here's what you need to know to be the best version of yourself as an SBA banker.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you ever have any clients that have legal issues, we're happy to help you on those things. So now all of a sudden these guys go, hey, remember that guy that really provided value and hooked me up in my life?
Yeah.
And he does this, now quarterly luncheon with all these really nice people. It's a cool network. I get to hang out with friends and learn. What a great blessing. What a great place to be. Of course, I'm going to send that guy my clients.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's really easy. So we have SBA bankers, we have tow truck companies, we have collision centers, I have restoration companies, roofers, I have CPAs, I have other attorneys. And that's just for my practice areas.
Yeah.
And then we have my lawyer education clients, which is called Queste Legal Consulting, which basically Queste means mindset in Latin.
Latin.
Yeah. Lawyers love Latin, right?
Yep.
We identify for our clients their practice areas.
Okay.
So we have family law clients, we have employment law clients, we have real estate law clients, we have criminal law clients, and we do the same process for them. Who are your clients already talking to? And how do we create an ethical relationship with that person?
Yeah.
Just for full disclosure, every state's different on how lawyers are allowed to incentivize relationships. Some jurisdictions don't allow you to pay anything for a referral. So then it has to be where you're providing so much value to that person's life when it's not a tit for tat. Like, hey, we do a monthly dinner, or we go to the Suns game, or we just hang out. We're good. Like, you create a relationship. So if you can pay affiliate fees, then that's great, but not a lot of places can.
Yeah.
So then it becomes providing such an exaggerated amount of value in their life where they feel like they owe you, right? And I've one quick example of that. Before I even created this system, I did this accidentally. There was a family law attorney in town that I sent probably 50 cases to. She made $250,000, $300,000 from me over like a year and a half. So she felt really indebted to me. Right. Without actually ever asking for a referral fee or anything like that.
Yeah.
She felt like she owed me.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden she found one case and she's like, I got this perfect case for you. It took me so long. So glad I finally found it. I made 1.2 million on that one case.
Wow.
So my point is I created this law of reciprocity with her.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, it's not a tit for tat. It doesn't have to be paid referrals.
Yeah.
Is you can create so much value in somebody's life and never ask for a sale in response.
Yeah.
Right. But where she feels so indebted to me that she's looking for opportunities to bless my life again, or bless it back is maybe a better way to say it.
Yeah.
So that law of reciprocity can apply. And again, you do that with everybody. So identify your clients, identify the traps, learn how to bless their lives. I love continuing education. That's a really, really good way to provide value to them. If there's some specific licensure or something like that, give them value in their field and appear as the authority figure at the same time.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot with lawyers. I do that a lot with insurance agents, a lot with bankers, a lot with real estate agents. And I teach them what they need to know from a legal perspective for their jobs. So now that's authority-based and value-based, and they're grateful for me. So again, providing them an excess of value to where they feel the reciprocal need to pay it back.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest aspects of that, and you kind of touched on it, is not expecting anything back. Sometimes like I've been to networking events where people just like, you can kind of see that they're like wanting something from you. And it's just like, you can feel it, Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I've noticed is that the higher up you go, like the higher the caliber the people are, they probably had way more conversations than the average person, and they get really good at reading people. And you're just looking in their direction. They already know you want something, And
they tune out.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the old adage? People love to buy, people hate to be sold to.
Yeah, exactly.
And the moment somebody starts getting salesy and you feel that, you're like, dude, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
And there's that great book, The Go Giver, right? The more you give and the more you receive in excess, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't ever ask for a sale. I've literally never asked anybody for a referral. I figure out a way to bless their life. Mm-hmm. And what's so cool about that is it's super fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like I get to be in a position where I'm helping people and I really genuinely feel like I'm doing it. If they never sent me anything, I still got goodness out of it.
Yeah.
If I never made a dime from it, I'm still a better person because I got to give something away. What a blessing, right? And then by just its very nature, law of reciprocity, they're going to feel almost guilty for having received it. Mm-hmm. And they're going to find a way to pay it back to you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's awesome. I mean, it really is. If you could spend most of your time giving, it pays off in spades.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've seen that in my life as well, like with the investments that I do and with the consulting that I do. We always teach our students to lead with value. And like in your example, you're already a lawyer. You already know exactly like what they need to do, how to do it. You can educate them on that. But sometimes people are coming into the business world and they're still like pretty fresh. So we have a process that we take them through where they study something to the point where they have value to share. Then they go to the networking events and those rooms that they want to be in, and then they share that value, and then they don't expect anything back. But a lot of times, like you said, it comes back, and it comes back a lot more than what they gave. And so they're able to grow their businesses and do that type of stuff. So if somebody's watching this and maybe they're not quite sure where they should start looking for these people, these traps that they can set, what's your advice on that? Like, where can they find these people who are going to be reliable enough to do that instead of just going on a wild goose chase and trying to chase them down?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think you have to identify your ideal client. I mean, identifying, and that sometimes people don't even know that answer, right? They might, like to your point, they might not even know what field they want to go in. They don't know what business they want to start. So it's really hard to attract your ideal client when you don't even know who they are. How do you expect somebody to pay you lots of money if you don't know who that person is?
Yeah.
I mean, how are you ever going to get the message to them that's valuable and important when you don't even know who they are?
Yeah.
So identify who that client is. And then again, go giver, right? So instead of going to the traps and saying, hey, can you send me referrals? Imagine how quickly of a turnoff that's going to be. You go to these referrals and say, hey man, here's pizza. Hey man, we're doing a free continuing education seminar at my place. We're going to bring food trucks. Want to come?
Yeah.
And then I say, oh, by the way, I have cases I could probably send you. Can I give out your name? And they go, who are you? Like, why are you trying to bless what are you doing? Right. And I say, look, I just think I like to surround myself with good people that are like-minded, that are doing good things. And if that's you, then I'd love to have you part of our circle.
Yeah.
And some of them kind of weed themselves out. You know what I mean? You got to put a lot of feelers out there. But we very rarely have people, that I say, hey, can I send you work? Like the way we built my national of counsel affiliate network. So these are lawyers that already work for themselves. I did not go to them and say, hey, would you like to join my program? I went to them and said, hey, can I send you cases? No catch.
Yeah.
Like literally, we just share fees. Can I send you work in these specific areas? And they're like, what's the catch? I'm like, there's literally no catch. I'll just send you work. If you do good work, I'll keep sending it to you. If not, then I'm going to send it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
And granted, we identified those particular lawyers that we think would be in a position to accept that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not going to big firms that would have conflict issues. We went to lawyers that had, 5 to 10 years in practice that have less than 10 lawyers at their firm. So you got somebody that's hungry and growing.
Exactly.
And so again, you get real specific. So identify your ideal client, and then those traps, figure out a way to bless their life, and they're going to weed themselves out real quick if they're not the right person.
Well, cool. One final question that I have for you, kind of circling back to improving our businesses and growing them and making them more efficient. How would you say like you were able to identify your top skills? Because it seems like you've delegated a lot of the work to other people. How were you able to identify your top skills in business so that you could focus on those things and then hire out for everything else?
It's a really good question. I think I've always felt I feel when I feel comfort, when I feel peace, when I feel like secure in that, I feel really, really comfortable in front of people. Okay. Like the ability to connect with somebody on a personal level and to talk in a way that resonates with them. So I can talk to a 16-year-old and have a, nice conversation and talk on their level. Yeah. I can talk to a PhD, expert neurologist on their level.
Yeah.
And
how to connect with people.
So meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned that that's an innate ability. I think that's from my mom. She's a really great communicator. And I realized that leads itself very well to sales. The systematizing approach on things and then actually doing the legal work, I'm good at that. I'm trained at that. But I feel like I'm more adept at the relationship side of things. And so early on, I said, okay, how do I systematize the sales process so it fits with my mantra? And then systematize the legal fulfillment. So I put a department head over each one of our practice areas. And then most people hire like vertically, right? They say, I'm at the top. And then you have like straight down. I went horizontal. I said, here's all of my practice areas. I'm going to replace myself in each one of those practice areas. And then I'm going to hire vertically underneath those practice areas.
Mm-hmm.
So most lawyers don't do that. They hire the paralegal, they hire 2 associates under them.
Yeah.
I hired a partner level person first, which most people are like, that's crazy. Well, first off, it's expensive. You hire that person, you put them with autonomy and control and upside, and then you build horizontally and then vertically.
Yeah.
Then the next thing you know is I've just systematized myself out of it. You know what's crazy? 2 years in, I don't take any cases personally at the firm anymore. I have an associate that runs the department that has upside and growth, and they make a percentage of their net.
Yeah.
They're hungry. They want to keep moving. And those guys, they receive the case. I oversee them.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do I systematize it? We have a weekly meeting that makes sure we go over the files. So I'm still involved, right?
Yeah.
So to your point is I found what I'm naturally comfortable at. And then we've systematized the heck out of it. You know, we have CRMs, we have automation, we have AI and all that to make life really easy. And I realized my weakness sometimes comes down to the nitty gritty of the organizational details. So I hired a practice manager that's what she's phenomenal at, right? Identifying what my weakness is rather than trying to work on myself. I just hired it out. So that's already her strength. She's not good at the sales side of things. She's not good at the grand vision. So I don't need to be everything.
Yeah.
I need to identify what I'm good at and then outsource the rest. And it's hard for lawyers, right? Because lawyers want to be the be all end all. It's hard for any business owner. They want to be the be all end all.
Yeah.
But the moment you realize that you are limited by the amount of money you make, by the more stuff that you personally do.
Yeah.
The better your system, the more you can make. And that's why entrepreneurship is unlimited. You can hire 50,000 employees and you don't actually have to do a whole lot of anything on top. I mean, there's a management to that. But as soon as you realize that your input is not directly related to the output, if your input is onto a system, that system has far more potential than I could ever individually. Yeah. So figure out your system. And we coach our lawyers on how to do that. And we literally come in and build their KPIs and their standard operating procedures. We build their internal intake processes. We build their marketing, we build their funnels or not funnels, but their traps and all that.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. You can see I get passionate about it. I get really excited about it.
I love it.
And it's fulfilling too. That's what's so cool about it. Like, it's not just it's not just a job. If we're actually blessing people's lives and we're helping people live more fulfilled. And that's what's so cool about entrepreneurship is honestly, entrepreneurship is such a soul searching experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've had that. Like, you really have to look in yourself and you go, the reason that this isn't growing is because I'm not growing.
Yeah.
And that's a harsh reality. So I love being able to look inward and let that reflect outward in the business.
Yeah, definitely. And something recently, somebody told me, I don't remember who it was, but somebody told me about their business. We were talking about their business and I asked them, I was like, hey, how's business? You're working hard. And he's like, Austin, if I'm working hard, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's so right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a business is a system, like you said. And so really what we're building here is not sales. We're not building marketing or anything like that necessarily. We do need those things, but at the end of the day, we're just creating a system that works. And so I think the best entrepreneurs are just the best system builders. And the people that have figured out how to do that.
And they're the dreamers too. The dreamers that are willing to take the risk and then build the system.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of it. I mean, is that entrepreneurship in a nutshell?
I think so. It's just systems.
Systems, you're willing to take a risk and you have a big vision.
Yeah.
And you're willing to fail over and over again. I mean, I'm not perfect. I've had unhappy clients. I've had, unhappy employees. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But I call it, if I can create repeatable client experiences and repeatable employee experiences, those are my systems.
Yeah.
Repeatable, so every single time a new case comes in, how do we handle it? What's the process? What's the procedure for getting that case in the door? How's that handled in our CRM? Who then follows up? What's the timing of the follow-up? And it might seem like micromanaging. There's a very big difference between micromanaging and managing. Managing is creating a system and letting people have the autonomy within that system.
Mm-hmm.
Micromanaging is telling them what to do, whether that's a system or not. So managing is creating an environment for them that allows them to have full autonomy.
Yeah.
So I don't have to then manage these people or I don't have to micromanage them. I have a weekly meeting with my attorneys and I say, how are your cases? How are they going? They make decisions. If they have questions, they know they can come to me. So I'm managing the cases, but I'm certainly not micromanaging. And the blessing of that is everybody feels like they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And they all feel like their input matters. And then beyond that, they also have a financial skin in the game. I think that's a really big important thing on systems is people, if they get too invest and they want to become their own entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
It means that they don't have enough personal autonomy in it and don't see enough upside. So they're going to leave and go do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you have to create enough autonomy for themselves and enough financial upside where
Mhm.
they don't need the risk.
Yeah.
So that's a key to the system is we all left because we wanted to take the massive risk because we didn't see it where we were.
Yeah.
Right. If I can create the system that allows somebody to be entrepreneurial and have that feel good feeling that they're doing something good
Mhm.
without the risk,
Yeah.
then I win.
Yeah.
And they win. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my goal, I want my associates to make 7 figures.
Yeah.
I want them to absolutely crush it, but I don't want them to have to leave their job and go risk it all and maybe face losing everything. If I can help them avoid the massive risk that I took
Mhm.
and still have all of the upside, then we're both going to be benefited from it. So it's awesome.
That's really interesting. That's like, it's kind of like being an entrepreneur on easy mode, you
Mhm.
know, and if you can create that environment for people using the systems that you've built within your organization, I think that's a win for everybody. You know, they win, they want to continue growing your company and they don't have to take those massive risks. So that's definitely a great takeaway. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to find you online? Just Google you, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, no, that's great. So Instagram is probably the best way. I'm new to Instagram. This whole branding thing, man, you guys have it more dialed in than I do. I've just started to do content. So Ryan P. Sandstrom on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome.
You can check us out on the website. It's questaelaw.com. That's Questae. It's a weird Latin word. So questaelaw.com, or the underlying law firm in Arizona is coppercanyonlaw.com. It's a lot of different ways. I would just say go to Instagram. Everything's there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. This is Ryan Sandstrom with Queste Law and Copper Canyon Law. And this is Better Business with Austin Zellen. And we'll see you all in the next episode.